Let's do this. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? I should be getting some. Oh shit! Alright. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? Probably won't get too many people in this broadcast, but that's okay because I'm driving, so it might be a little glitchy anyway. You know what I mean? Might be a little glitchy anyway. So, I wanted to talk a little bit. I see a lot of people are talking about this, so I want to put in my little 2 cents because I'm I'm that type of nigga. I'm gonna put in my 2 cents. You know what I mean? Put in my little 2 cents and shit. What's up to everybody in the room? I don't know who's all in the room because, like I said, I am streaming from Haps, so it should be going out. So this should be going out to my YouTube, my Facebook, Twitch, Haps, of course, and I think one more. So I'm not sure who's really in here. So if you want to let me know who's in here, just say what's up in the room, and I'll give you shots out for sure. All right. So um, I'm actually on my way to a function. You know what I mean? Um, I'm on a I'm on my way to a function real quick. What up, Dwayne? You know what I mean? You look like you just left at night church service. What's good, Gary? Nah, man. I'm about to go to a function right now. I'm about to go to a function. So, uh, you look cute. You look cute. Ah, that's funny. All right. So, I want to talk a little bit about this whole Dane Calloway situation. You know what I mean? Let me see what time it is. See, yeah, it's about that time. Start heading that way. So first off, I want to say right now before I get started, because I'm gonna start driving. Okay, you going to get all the ladies tonight? Well, you know, I ain't gonna shoot them off like little flies. But I want to say this before we get underway real quick that I'm gonna be driving, so it might get a little frozen a little bit sometimes. All right. So if it does, just let me know. And what I'll do is I'll repeat what I was saying unless you guys got the gist of what I was saying, right? So get myself real quick. Turtlenecks, all right, all righty. All right. So a lot of people are kind of putting in their 2 cents with the Dane Calloway situation with Judge Joe Brown, right? And it might be a little dark, so I apologize because I can't drive with this inside light on the whole time. But um, there's a few things like Judge Joe, and excuse me, it just got dark. Judge Joe Brown is not like a debater. That's number one. Okay, but he's a very intelligent individual. And my first thing I want to fucking say is Dane Calloway was being purposely obtuse. Um, he was being purposely obtuse during that whole debate. It was a debate and being disingenuous. Okay, and um, I hope that you guys notice that if you identify as an indigenous, native, that's cool. I don't have no issue with you. Um, I think you got it a little wrong. But I don't fault you, and I don't fucking be like, oh yeah, whatever. But if you're a Dane Calloway flunky, I might have some issues with you. Okay. Dane Calloway was trying to make some stupid ass points. Like one of the points, and I'm doing this all off my brain. One of the points that he was trying to say is, "Oh, tell me when slave ships were made." We call them slave ships. That's the modern colloquialism of the words, but they were cargo ships. There were a whole bunch of different types of ships that they were using in order to transport black folks to America. But he wanted to stick on that point and act like that was some sort of big of a deal, which it really don't matter. I know he be spinning his little yarn and acting like that shit matter, but it really don't, right? Kind of like Harriet Tubman, right? Being not being a real person. The fact of the matter is, the person that we know as Harriet Tubman, um, the person is a real person. That might not have been Harriet Tubman, right? But she was still a real person, all right? Um, when he says dumb shit like Nat Turner wasn't real and it was all false, that shit is bullshit. We have ancestors of Nat Turner. The fact of the matter is Nat Turner, we don't have no pictures of him. We don't have no drawings of him. The fact of the matter, though, is his family is still alive. His lineage is still there, right? And so, when he tries to make these points that really don't really amount to shit, Dane Calloway does this shit a lot. They tend to try to act as he tries to act like these little small discrepancies amount to this big old thing, right? And then when you ask him something like, well, man, why don't you go get your DNA tested, right? The fact of the matter is he won't do it. You know why he won't do it? Because he has no association to the native people that we Americans, i.e., Indians, i.e., what I mean, like them folks. Okay? So that's why he won't get it. But what he'll do is he'll go off and say DNA ain't real. DNA ain't real. DNA is real. Okay? Right? DNA is real. Like let's just stop with that type bullshit right now. That shit is just a disingenuous argument. Just because you don't understand DNA, right? Dane Calloway, if you happen to run across my shit, um, just because you don't understand DNA, don't mean DNA is not real. Okay. Also, I felt that his behavior with an elder like Judge Joe Brown showed his true feminine emotions, right? And again, you might have a different opinion, but these are just my opinions. Okay? Don't call me black. I'm not your son. Knowing damn well Dane Calloway grew up in a black home. He understand what he meant when he said son. But he want to fucking be in his feelings. I'm not your son. Nigga, fuck out of here. Nigga, get the fuck out your feelings, bro. Quit making this debate and this conversation, the discussion that you had about names and shit, right? Stop doing that. That shit is for children, okay? He got mad at, I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna pop up. Dane Calloway, if you happen to jump through my shit and happen to see me, nigga, I wish you would pop up, nigga. Ain't nobody scared of you. The fuck you over here threatening a grown ass fucking elder and shit. A man that's done a lot of different things for the community, whether you agree with him or not, and whether you think they helped a lot. He has done some things, to help individuals. And he's done more to help the community than Dan Calloway has. Okay? Trying to attack how much money this man has. And let me point out that little point about fucking how much money Joe Brown had. It was moot. It doesn't fucking mean anything, right? But what I will say is this. Dane Calloway clearly doesn't understand how savings work, investments work, things of that nature. Talking about you ain't got millions of dollars. How the fuck you know what that man has? What, you Google search his name? Nigga, who the fuck are you in charge of this man's motherfucking fucking bank and shit? No, nigga, you not. You not. You got this man's bank statements? Does it fucking matter? Let's say that nigga had $1 to his goddamn name. What the fuck does that matter? The points that were made were moot. Do you understand this treaty when they were going back to Africa? Judge Joe Brown kept on posing one question to Dane Calloway that Dane Calloway did not want to answer. And he knows why he don't want to answer, because he don't have no answer. He asked him, how did these black folks, like you calling indigenous, get over to this motherfucking continent? Now, I think that's a very legitimate motherfucking question. Okay? Joe Brown is way better than Judge Joe Brown. Absolutely, I agree. Okay? But here's the thing. I want y'all to understand that these kind of Negroes, you can tell why this Negro wants to overcharge to be in debates with different people like Jabari and shit like that, because he doesn't have the intellectual capacity to actually stand up and make a legitimate argument against motherfuckers who got something. You know what I mean? That's actually put in time and research, that don't have a layman's understanding of history. Now, again, I'm not the nigga that sits here that totally disagree with Dane Calloway in the fact that black folks was here. We were absolutely in America, aka Turtle Island. We were. We've been here for a long time. Okay? But where Dane Calloway has it wrong is that we were not here, and we were not these tribes, or at least none of the 5 civilized tribes. We weren't Cherokee. We didn't become part of the Cherokee or Choctaw or any of these tribes until like after the 1800s, 16, 17, 1800s, when we started integrating with them, or they enslaved us, or, multiple different reasons, right? So we didn't have that designation until then. But we were here and we had tribes. And I think it's disingenuous to say that we weren't here. But the question that he asked is still a legitimate question, which is, how did we get here? Right? Well, Dane Calloway didn't want to say no dumb shit like, oh, well, we was always here, because there's no evidence of that we've always been here. There's zero evidence of that. Zero, absolutely none. That we just evolved here. That's not a part of the record that can be shown to be true in any way, shape, or fashion. And so he don't want to say that shit to a true scholar, somebody that knows what the fuck they talking about, right? Because if he was to say some dumb shit like that to a nigga like me, Oh, I jump all over his helmet. You understand? He don't want to do that to a brother like Jabari. He don't want to do that with motherfucking scholars who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Because he knows that there is absolutely zero evidence for any of this. Right? And so you can't just make a claim like that and say that it's true without being able to back that up. Okay? And so what he does is he goes after people whose experience is in a completely different area, not in things such as history, archaeology, biology, DNA. He don't go against them type of individuals. He goes after, a classically trained lawyer. Okay? He goes after people like that, right? Because it tears apart his whole argument that we've been here the whole time, which we weren't. That's just not how it went. Now, you can disagree with how many people came over here. You can make some sort of argument that, well, there had to be clearly more African indigenous people on this land than is previously claimed. You can make those arguments because you can't you can't prove it, nor can you disprove it with the evidence that we have at hand at this time, right? The number of people, you can't, you know, put that down. But what we do have is we have evidence that there were, what we colloquially call slave ships. We know that they have them. We have written accounts of them. We have many different written accounts from not only the slaves that were on them, but we have the slave ships. We have the actual documents that show how many passengers and how many people and all these things. We have that. So there is no denial of that. There cannot be any denial of that. Now, when there was an argument that was made during this that, oh, well, what about this treaty that would have had, you know, um, it would have had fucking black folks going back to Africa. It wasn't this way around. It went the opposite. No, wrong, Negro. They were trying to send back the slaves that they had. Now, by the time we were talking about that moment in time, the fact of the matter is all the black folks was mixed in together. That means the indigenous people and the slaves, the African slaves that came over here. Okay? So they were mixed up. And they weren't going back. It wasn't getting slave trade went the opposite direction. Bullshit, nigga. Plus, they didn't even fucking like do that shit. They sent a few people down there, but that's it. So when you fucking make these dumbass arguments, right, it shows your lack of integrity, your layman understanding of history. It shows that you don't really know what the fuck you talking about. Now, I'm not saying that Judge Joe Brown is this scholar and he got everything right, because he didn't. But one thing he did not do is he didn't misrepresent his point. A lot of people kept on saying, oh, he said fucking, he believes in flat earth. That doesn't matter neither here nor there. Stupid niggas and supposed smart motherfuckers believe in flat earth. That don't mean shit. Judge Joe Brown kept on saying something about spaceships. He was making a joke. He was talking about, well, how did they get here? You're saying they didn't come over here on ships. How else did they get here? Spaceships? Now, he did say that fucking Dane Calloway had wrote that shit somewhere. I don't know. I ain't done enough work because I personally think Dane Calloway is a fucking idiot. That's just my personal opinion. Okay? He got a few things right, but he's more of a layman than a master teacher by any stretch of the imagination. Like, he's not even good at teaching the basics. But we have a long written history. So this is why, I call him a layman, because we have a long written history. And I've showed the books and I've told you guys about the books. You know what I mean? We got a few books that tell us that there were black folks here, right? But that's all they say. They don't say anything else. They say that there's plenty of writings that show that black folks was here. That's it, right? So when we talk about this type shit, we have to be intellectually honest. And the way you're intellectually honest is looking at both sides of the argument and disseminating what is true and what is like wrong, right? What is true and what is facts and what is not true and what is not facts, right? And what Dane Calloway does is he finds some discrepancy and then somehow turns it around and makes it seem as if he has a point without actually making any points. One of the things that he fucking has said, and I've heard him, and we've talked about this on one of my shows, a few of my shows in the past, right? Is that Dane Calloway has made the claim that it wasn't black slaves that came over here on the slave ships, it was actually white folks that came over here on slave ships that were the slaves. Well, Dane was wrong. In a very generalized term, I guess you can say, all right, Dane got a point there. A very generalized way. Okay? And so we have to understand that, yeah, they came over in these ships, but they were not slaves in the classic sense of slavery. They were not treated as the way that we've seen the diagrams. They were not under the fucking bottom of the fucking ship. They were on top of the mast. They were in different areas and they were taught different things. And they were, they slept in different areas and they had quarters and things like that. But they willingly signed over their life, right, to be enslaved people. A large majority of white so called slaves, which they weren't, they were indentured servants. And there is a very clear difference, not only definitionally, but legally, there's a clear difference between the two. Okay? That they signed over their rights for their service in this country in order to pay for their motherfucking trip to the Americas. We know this. We have the documents. This is not up for debate. If you want to debate the numbers, fine. If you want to debate fucking, that some of them were slaves their whole, like indentured servants their whole life, fine, okay. But you cannot debate the fact that the way they came over here is completely different from the slaves, the African slaves that came over here. And you can't debate that the African slaves were actually motherfucking slaves. They were property. And there was a very clear distinction between the two that was made in the law in 1681. Right? And you got to understand, when white folks came over here and started settling, it was 1619. That's when they first started settling. 1619. All right. So because they came in 1619, oops, let me put that in a fucking my shit. When they came over here in 1619, 1681, when they designated that law, it's only about 60 years difference. That's 60 years after they got here. And they distinguished the difference for a reason. They didn't do it for no reason. They did it for a reason. Okay? Now, I know some people will say, well, I have slave papers for Europeans who are slaves. You can have them. All those papers were the fucking same. The difference is the laws. The laws distinguish black slaves from white slaves. They distinguish indentured servants. Also, those papers and those contracts that they had actually showed, if you had a certain amount of years or not. So when we talk about this shit, Dane Calloway is going out of his way in order to literally distort history, distort an understanding that we clearly know, right? And why I called him a cult, and this is what he is, don't get it twisted. He is a cult. He is a cult leader because he's teaching people to steal other people's culture. Again, we can't deny that there was native people, the people that we call native today that were here in this land, but there was also black folks. Both things can be true, right? They both can be true. But he wants to act like, no, all of the fucking native indigenous people were all black. No, they weren't. They weren't. That's just false. That's blatantly false. That's disingenuously false, right? And so when we sit here and we have this conversation, people, I want you to understand that there can be two things that are true at one time. Wow, what a concept. That's a fucking novel fucking concept. Can you believe it? Two things being true at the same time. So I want y'all to understand that, when you listen to people like Dan Calloway, he'll always have an excuse on why he can't do things such as prove. He'll fucking say some shit like, um, oh, well, DNA is wrong, or they don't have the true DNA of these people, blase, blase. But what he won't ever do is back up his claim of who he is. Okay, he'll show some relatives maybe every once in a while, or he'll show some other older elders that say some shit like, you know, um, some older elders that'll say, yeah, we're native and this is it. But again, I'm not saying that those people are wrong. I'm saying that he has a misunderstanding of the history, or he has changed the history in such a way that distorts it, and that in itself makes his claim absolutely false, right? And so, what I want y'all to understand, man, is that, you know, be careful of these shysters like Dane Calloway. Be careful of this ideal. Be careful of these type individuals because ultimately, ultimately, what happens is when we're confused about what's going on, when we're confused about the truth, then we start wavering from where the fuck we're supposed to be. And this point, and I'm going to go deeper into this in my next stream, okay? But we're not going to benefit by trying to call ourselves native indigenous people. We're not going to, you know what I mean? A distortion to benefit. Yeah, it's a distortion to benefit his argument. but it doesn't help us in any way as black folks in this country. Whether you want to be recognized as black or native or indigenous or whatever the fuck, I don't give a shit what the fuck you want to call yourself. Label yourself whatever the fuck you want. But the fact of the matter is, not helping. If you want to do it to know who the fuck you are, okay, cool, fine. That doesn't bother me. If you want to do it because you know it shows certain things and it shows a history, okay, cool, whatever. But don't sit here and try to act as if you need to call yourself a native and steal somebody else's culture in order to get some sort of justice. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to get justice based off of somebody else's claim. We're just not. It's they will go out, they'll stop giving those people justice because you want to steal their justice. We have our own separate justice claim, and it has nothing to do with no dumbass Negroes saying, "Oh yeah, we was Indians, we was the Cherokee, we was the Choctaw, we were the fucking." Dude, who the fuck are you serious, nigga? Is you dumb? Right? So with that being said, man, pay attention to these shysters, and I'm gonna fucking get deep down into this history because motherfuckers need to understand the truth. We were not any of those five civilized tribes. We were not fucking those tribes. That's not who we was. We had our own tribes. We were separate. We got here from Africa. His claim that fucking, oh, we're not even African. Yes, you are, Negro. You just dumb. You just too stupid to recognize it. You don't want to accept who the fuck you are. You have a problem with saying I am African and I'm okay with that shit. That's what you have a problem with. You hate yourself. You hate your lineage. You hate your mommy and your pappy. You hate your whole bloodline when you say some shit like that. Are you serious? You can be African and indigenous. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Remember, I just said it just a few seconds ago. Two things can be right at the same time. And guess what? You can be African and you can be indigenous. It's not hard. Just saying. All right. With that being said, man, I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gonna get it the fuck up in here. Have a good night, man. Have me a couple drinks and fucking do what the fuck I do best. You know what I mean? Look good, pimping. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and Dane Calloway, I'm in motherfucking Sacramento, California, homie. Don't ever try that little funky ass shit with me. Fuck out of here with that dumb shit, nigga. You look like a clown threatening Judge Joe Brown, nigga. You look like a clown doing that shit. And then try to save your ass talking about, well, I'm not gonna fucking, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna fucking put no hands on him. Nigga, you was acting like you was going to. Nigga, I'm gonna catch up with you. I'm gonna catch up with you. You'll see. You'll see. Nigga, shut the fuck up. You sound like a whole ass bitch, nigga. You sound like that dry snitching, self snitching ass nigga that goes to prison that don't want to get beat the fuck up. So what he do is he gets super loud in front of the CO. He don't have nothing to say until the CO get around, and then they get real loud and they want to start fucking acting all buff and tough and shit, knowing you gonna get rolled the fuck up, sent down to motherfucking, the cells all by yourself, nigga, and go to PC, nigga, be forced to PC up, nigga. Fuck out of here, bro. You sounded like a whole ass bitch. I said what I said. I'm out.